not that bad.
Good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. Jerry, can we call the meeting to order? And take Rich is not here today. For those in the audience, if you need an agenda, there's one in the back bookshelf in the back. All right. Approval of the June 11, 2018 minutes. Did everyone have a chance to review those? Are there any corrections? And if not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of today's agenda. Is there any changes to that? If not, I would also entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consent agenda. PJ, take it away.
All right, PJ Conover, Director, Planning Department. All right, consent agenda. As usual, we got a long consent agenda. Item number 3, conditional use permit review 9242 for Sunnyside Mobile Home Court to review a mobile home park in a suburban residential district. Staff recommends to continue the review of conditional use permit 9242 to the September 24th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting to allow staff and the property manager to meet and bring the property into compliance. Item 4, conditional use permit amendment review 1037 for,
Sorry.
That's all right.
Telling me it's 9 o'clock?
For Dennis and Sarah Mason to amend an existing conditional use permit to allow an existing caboose located on the subject property to be used as a seasonal cabin in the low-density residential district. Staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 1037 with 8 conditions. Item number 5, conditional use permit review 1312 for Donald Johnson to review a single-wide mobile home to be used as a single-family residence in the suburban residential district. Staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 1312 with 7 conditions. Item 6, conditional use permit review 1614 for Ron Tooth to review a recreational vehicle to be used as a temporary living quarters on the subject property while the applicant works to replace the single-wide mobile home that was destroyed by a fire in the suburban residential district. Staff recommends to end conditional use permit 1614 with the applicant's concurrence. Item 7, conditional use permit review 1633 for Clinton Newley to review a single-wide mobile home to be used as a permanent single-family residence in the suburban residential district, and staff recommends to continue the review of conditional use permit 1633 to the September 10th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting with 3 conditions. Item 8, conditional use permit review 1703 for McDaniel Trust, Susan McDaniel, to review a vacation home rental on the subject property in the limited agriculture district. Staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 1703 with 16 conditions. Item 9, conditional use permit review 1715 for Jane Luann Van Hoonick to review a bed and breakfast in the limited agriculture district. Staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 1715 with 16 conditions. Item 10, conditional use permit 1720, Melissa Masters to review a mobile large animal home veterinary practice on a subject property in the general agriculture district. Staff recommends to continue the review of conditional use permit 1720 to the July 23rd, 2018 Planning Commission meeting. Item 11, conditional use permit review 1721 for Cricket Lawn Service to review the storage of equipment in the lawn and landscaping business in the subject property in the limited agriculture district. Staff recommends to end conditional use permit 1721. Item 12, conditional use permit review 1722 for Pamela Phillips to review a single-wide mobile home to be used as a permanent single-family residence in the subject property in a suburban residential district. Staff recommends to continue the review of conditional use permit 1722 to the August 27th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting to allow the applicant time to bring the subject property into compliance. Item 13, conditional use permit amendment review 1743 for Under Canvas Incorporated, UC Glamping Partners LLC, Jeremy Budge is the agent, to review a conditional use permit amendment to allow recreational resort glamping on the subject property, which also includes the sale of beer and wine in a general agriculture district. Staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 1743 with 27 conditions. Item 14, conditional use permit review 1747 for Harriet Kelly to review a recreational vehicle to be used as temporary living quarters on the subject property during the summer months in the low-density residential district. Staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 1747 with 11 conditions. 3 more. Item 15, construction permit review 1515 for Flack Trucking Incorporated to review the continuation of stockpiling soil, leveling and plowing fields, and removing soil from the property. The disturbed area is being returned to farm ground. Staff recommends approval of the extension of construction permit 1515 with 12 conditions. Item 16, construction permit 1708 for Lorzell Construction to construct a 650-foot-long driveway that will provide access to the subject property. Staff recommends to end construction permit 1708 with the applicant's concurrence. Item 17, conditional use permit 1819 for Greg Bull to allow a guest house on the subject property in a low-density residential district. Staff recommends approval of conditional use permit 1819 with 11 conditions.
All right, is there any items staff would like to have removed from the consent agenda?
No, sir?
Any membership? Any items you'd like pulled?
I,
Go ahead, Lloyd.
11 and 13.
11 and 13, you said?
Yes.
All right. Any other individuals on the commission? Seeing none. Any audience members? Those items that we just read, items 3 through 17, if any of y'all like to speak on behalf of one of those items, or if you have a concern with them, if you'd like them pulled from the agenda, please come forward and let us know. All right, I see none, so that leaves us with the consent agenda from 3 to 10, 12, 14, and 17. Is that correct? If so, I'd entertain a motion to approve those consent items, 3 through 10, 12, 14 through 17.
Move approval. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Take us to item number 11.
Mr. Chair, if I could ask that we do item 13 first. Item 11 was done by a staff member who's upstairs, and we're short-staffed today, so give her time to get down here. If we could start with 13 first.
Okay, works for me. Anyone have any objections? Nope. All right, we'll go to item 13 first.
My only question with this, PJ, was when I was looking through it, I was looking for the notes from Jerome, the fire, his recommendation. I see they have an evacuation plan, but I also read in the paper this morning something about fireplaces and so forth, meaning some fireplaces.
Oh, okay.
So that was my concern. I didn't see anything that really, unless I'm overlooking it.
As except for the evacuation plan, they don't have anything like sprinkler systems or anything
No.
like that, just the evacuation plan. And the maximum number of people they can have at any one time is the maximum that's allowed on the property with the rentals. They don't allow any more than that. So, but if they're gonna have a wedding, they can only have a certain number of guests, and they have to stay on the property. But other than the evacuation plan and having met with Jerome, there's nothing else, but we can definitely add anything if you'd like.
No, I think my biggest concern is when I read the article this morning, they said something about some of these tents were going to have
Fireplaces.
in them. And so when I was looking through this, then the paper came, so that's what I was looking at.
Yeah, we are just the way you learned about things. That's how we learn about things with this place. We hear about them from the news, so or find them online or something like that. That's how we found out about the beer and wine. That's how we found out about the weddings, which is why this is keep coming before you. And we've asked the applicant to just give us that wish list of everything you want. If you'd like, we can add a condition that we have a fire coordinator visit the site with the on-site manager that's now hired, because Jeremy flies back and forth from another state, I think Montana it is, and to check that out, if you'd like.
Yeah, I guess I kind of like that. I mean, if you're going to put something like that into a tent that's temporary, I think there needs to be some oversight.
Sure.
I don't know how you guys want to word that, but
Probably just add it as a condition, right?
Yeah, we can do that. Trying to think of the dates.
I was like, what do you
Yeah,
think?
prior to the second meeting in August, the Pennington County Fire Coordinator hold an on-site meeting with the manager to discuss the fireplaces inside the tents,
okay.
That'll be August 27th.
whatever the second one is, yeah. Because they'll be, I think we'll be good then.
So you're gonna add that as a condition or just to continue it until then for that
No,
purpose,
I
or?
would add that as a condition,
Let's see.
if there's a second.
Yeah, would you like us to report back just a memo kind of a thing?
I would think so.
Okay.
All right, so you're making a motion to add that to the,
One of the 27 conditions,
It'll
isn't
be
it?
28 then, yep.
item 28. Is there a second to that?
Mr. Chair, can you
Yes.
say what is that condition? How is it going to be phrased?
He'll afterward.
Yeah. That prior to the August 27th meeting, is that it, Joe? That the Pennington County Fire Administrator visit with the on-site manager at, under canvas to discuss the fireplaces inside the tents.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Lloyd.
I noticed that under the review on page 2 of April 9th, they talk about fire pits. And then, you know, there's verbiage in there about what the fire coordinator had to say.
A lot of that has to do with the permits from the Forest Service and
Oh,
from
okay.
the area, but this is a little different. And
Okay.
that's probably how this is going to end up is Jerome will be the main contact, our fire administrator, and then he'll get them in touch with the local authority.
Okay,
But we'll usually start with us.
okay.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? So I remember there was a motion. We got the wording on there. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item 11.
Sorry, Brittany.
Oh, that's
Brittany.
okay.
Makes perfect sense.
This was just informational because I remember what had happened come up before with the property, and so I don't have any objections for it. I just wanted a little update because sometimes I read more into stuff than's probably there.
Oh, as far as this one moving?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, Mike went out there to look at that site and all of their equipment, everything was gone. And now it looks like they've moved to Campbell Street, in Fairmont at a site there. So that's why it was ending.
Okay.
So,
Does that answer all your questions?
Yeah, that's the only concern I had because I received some complaints from that, and that's why I was wanting to know the update on it.
right, and our office has received complaints up there from some other trailers, but that was a different company. So I think Mike has been working, our ordinance enforcement has been working with, that issue, but those were separate trailers from this business. So there was 2 separate ones on there, so that's kind of what was going on out there.
Okay. Thank you. I'd move for approval.
Okay, motion to approve. Is there a
Second.
second? Second. Motion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Takes us to item number 18.
All right. Get this up and running here for you. Item 18 is conditional use permit 1818 to allow a rental home park on the subject property to include 4 existing mobile home rental units and to allow an additional 10 rental units, which could include mobile homes and/or governor homes, and to also allow a caretaker's, manager's residence and shop on the subject property. The applicant is Randy Dowdy and Laura Luthi. And the owner is Karen Luthi Vennekamp, and the applicants are in the audience today if you have any questions. Subject property is 10 acres, zone suburban residential. Current access is off a country road via existing approaches. There is special flood hazard area, the 100-year floodplain, which is to the north of the subject property and is away from any of the structures that are proposed by the applicant. Currently on the subject property, there are some structures. Some family residences built 1974 and 1980, according to Department of Equalization records. A single-wide mobile home that was moved onto the property in 2016. Without a building permit, the applicant has since applied for a building permit for that structure. There's also another single-wide mobile home that was put on the property in 1988 with a conditional use permit for that structure to allow to have a single-wide on the property. There's also a detached garage was built approximately 1974, and currently 3 on-site wastewater treatment systems, which that's information is per the applicant, and this is located within the 1 mile septic jurisdiction for the city of Rapid City. This item was routed through the interdepartmental review. As stated, the subject property is located in the special flood hazard area, the 100-year on the north end of the property, so any construction in there would require a floodplain development permit. The county addressing coordinator commented specifically that some of all the addresses probably will change on that subject property, and that no half addresses will be allowed. And with the addition of more structures and residences, the road into the property will have to be named, which then would automatically mean that the homes are going to get new numbers and new addresses. So just wanted to make sure that the applicants were aware of that. This also was routed through the Rapid City Community Planning and Development Services. And they stated that the city's future land use identifies the appropriate use of the property as low-density neighborhood, which allows for single-family and two-family residences. Mobile home residential is a zoning district within the city that is appropriate within the low-density neighborhood designation. Rapid City Public Works stated that following approval of Pennington County and prior to any building occupancy, the city will require septic permits for all septic installations in accordance with city and state requirements. And that's, again, because it's in the city septic jurisdiction. Rapid City Engineering stated that upon submittal of a building permit, that a Class 1 water system operator certificate and state-approved plans be submitted to Pennington County, and we would forward those on to the city as well. West River Electric also requested a meeting with the landowners and the applicants prior to any new construction, just to talk about what it is and what the layout is that they have planned. We have a tentative layout up on the screen here for you today. The applicant is proposing to add, as stated, 10 rental units and a caretaker's residence or manager's residence in addition to the 4 existing homes. The applicant has indicated that the additional 10 units will be the mobile homes or the governor homes. According to our ordinance, the minute a property has 10 or more mobile homes, it becomes a mobile home park. So before you should have a memo that has some additional wording on one of the existing conditions for condition 2, and then also 2 new proposed conditions just to kind of cover the mobile home park ordinance and also the requirements for mobile homes when they're put inside the county. The applicants, again, who are here today have read through it, and they don't have any, they didn't say they did not agree with those proposed changes. The applicants propose use is in harmony with the existing use in the area, as there are other mobile home parks in the vicinity, especially directly to the east. There's 2 large ones over there. With conditional use permits, there are 5 factors that the Planning Commission may consider for their review. The first is that the effect upon the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for uses already permitted and upon property values within the immediate vicinity are not affected. This conditional use permit should not change the residential use of the property and appears to be in harmony with other existing uses in the area. Staff cannot predict the impact the use may have on the property values in the surrounding area. And as of the staff report, staff has received no letters of complaint or phone calls of complaint or concern. The second item to consider is that the effect upon the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding vacant property for uses predominant in the area. Allowing this conditional use permit should not affect the normal and orderly development in the area. Third item is that the utilities, access road, drainage, and other necessary facilities are provided. The subject property will be served by a private on-site wastewater treatment system, again located in the city's septic jurisdiction, and access to the property will be provided off the county road and a proposed interior roadway. Any other necessary facilities will be provided during construction. Item D, that the off-site parking and loading requirements are met. It appears that there is adequate parking facilities and space for the necessary parking spaces as per County Ordinance 310. And then the fifth item to consider is that measures are taken to control offensive odor, fumes, dust, noise, and vibration and lighting. The proposed conditional use permit by its very nature has the potential to produce limited odor, fumes, dust, noise, and vibrations, and intrusive lighting. There's also conditions in here for when the roadway is widened and the turnaround is widened, that the gravel road with 4 inches of gravel on it be kept in a dust-free manner. With that, as staff had mentioned, there is a memo before you with a word change to proposed condition number 2. Staff would recommend that condition 2 read that the rental home park continually have a caretaker or manager living on site and that their residents be appropriately identified as such. And then also 2 additional conditions, and since they weren't available to the public, I'll read those. The first proposed condition to add is that prior to the 10th building permit approved for a mobile home on the subject property, conditional use permit 1818 be reviewed by the Planning Commission for possible approval of a mobile home park per section 103 and 305 of the Pennington County zoning ordinance. The proposed change of use shall require hearing letters to be sent per section 510 of the Pennington County zoning ordinance. And again, that's because the zoning ordinance says once you hit 10 or more, you become a mobile home park. The second proposed condition is that all mobile homes be subject to the requirements of section 304 of the Pennington County zoning ordinance, and that is where it talks about skirting and manufactured and non-reflective roofs. Again, the applicants have read through those and didn't have any complaints. Therefore, staff would recommend approval of conditional use permit 1818 with 22 conditions with the changes previously mentioned.
Any questions for staff?
Yeah, PJ, that 10th building permit, shouldn't that be the 6th, since you've already got 4 there?
It would be 10 building permit for a mobile home.
Okay.
But you raise a good point, because if the other 2 were put there prior to 74, they don't have a building permit. So we could just say the 10th mobile home. That would cover it.
Okay.
And if it's just out of curiosity, if it's a mixture of mobile homes versus governor's homes, how does that play in there?
Governor's homes don't count as mobile homes.
Okay.
So they could have 9 single wides, and then the rest could be mobile homes.
Governor's
Governor
home.
homes, and they would never fall into the category of a mobile home park. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Chair.
So,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry.
Okay.
If we could then change the first proposed condition to that prior to the 10th mobile home permit on the subject property,
Yeah.
mobile home on the subject property?
Yeah.
Okay, take out the building permit part.
Lori, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question about, are they only required to have one access?
And only allowed to have one access, yes.
Well, but what I mean is that I noticed that the mobile home to the east of them has 2 entrances.
2 ins and outs there.
Is that the same as when we talk about the number of residents? Is that what
Dead end
triggers
roads,
the?
on
Yeah.
a dead end road system?
Yeah.
Yeah, a dead end road system, it's around 20.
Okay.
So they're okay, and
So
the
they're
other
okay with
mobile
doing
home parks
access.
are considerably larger.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question, though.
Any further questions for staff? Seeing none, are there any members of the public who would like to speak on behalf of this item? Seeing none, we have a recommendation to approve CU 1818 with the following 22 conditions with the changes that was presented by PJ. Is there a motion to approve or
I'll move approval.
Second.
motion second? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 19.
Thank you.
Good morning. Frank Waseth, Planner 2. Item 19 is conditional use permit 1820 to allow an existing shop building with living quarters to be used as a vacation home rental in a suburban residential zone. Applicants are William and Carissa Bussey. Local contact would be William Bussey. The property is approximately 1.5 acres. Access is off of Sheridan Lake Road through an existing access. This request was routed through interdepartmental review. Only primary concern from myself, county addressing coordinator and emergency services, was to require a physical address for the separate structure, which is just to the north behind the primary residence. The considerations for conditional use permit 1 through 5, including the effect upon the immediate use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the uses already permitted. The conditional use permit should not change the overall residential use and character of this property and should not have any long-term negative effects on the use and enjoyment of other properties in the immediate vicinity. As of this writing, staff has had no complaints regarding the subject property. Item B, the effect upon normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property. Allowing this conditional use permit should not affect the normal orderly development of the surrounding vacant property. Item C, utilities, roads, drainage, and necessary facilities are provided. The subject property is currently serviced by 2 on-site wastewater treatment systems, and uses a community well as well. Access already provided off of Sheridan Lake Road, so all facilities appear to be in place. Off-street parking requirements are met. The proposed vacation home rental would only be a 1-bedroom and has sufficient space for 1 parking spot behind the structure. And item E, that measures are taken to control the offensive odor, fumes, dust, noise, vibration, and lighting, so that none of these constitute a nuisance. The proposed conditional use, by its very nature, should have limited odor, fumes, dust, noise, and the applicant should continue to ensure that none of those issues become a nuisance. As in section 319 states, VHR is allowed on a lot that is a minimum of 1 acre in the following districts, including suburban residential, which this property is. The section 319 regarding vacation home rentals does not specifically address whether a second structure would be allowed or not, though all requirements appear to be met through the other performance standards listed in section 319. Current recommendation is to approval with 17 conditions. The applicant is in the audience as well.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Lori.
Yeah, don't we have an ordinance about a guest house? Is there a reason that this is permitted as a vacation home rental instead of as a guest house?
A guest house, per our ordinance, is not allowed to be rented out commercially. There is somewhat of a gap in the history of this specific structure on the property as to when it was originally used or outfitted with living quarters.
Okay.
So it has not been permitted as a guest house in the past. If it was, it would not be allowed as a VHR.
Okay, so the reason it's a VHR is because he intends to use it as a rent it out.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's not been verified, but staff's understanding that it has been rented out in the past, perhaps as a long-term rental. But again, that has not been verified through any documentation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions for staff? All right, you said the applicant's here in the audience. Would the applicant like to speak on behalf of this item?
Morning.
Good
My
morning.
name is William Bussey. I tend to live on the property and keep it pretty well tidy. The nature of it's pretty small, and I think we've met all the requirements and want to make sure everything is, basically we don't want to have any issues, and we'll keep it quiet and kind of limit it to 2 adults or a small family.
All right. Any questions for William? All right. Thank you very much, sir. All right. Current recommendation is for approval, CU 1820 with the following 17 conditions. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval of CU 1820 with the listed 17 conditions.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Takes us to item 20.
Item 20 is minor plan unit development amendment 1802. Thank you, Frank. To amend the existing Trailwood Village Plan Unit Development to allow for the sale of retail and wholesale seasonal fireworks, to allow the future construction of a building of up to 10,000 square feet for the storage and sales of fireworks, and to allow the sale of used vehicles on the subject property. The applicant and agent is Tom McScogue. He is in the audience today if you have any questions. The subject property is 1.97 acres. And again, that is zoned plan unit development through the Trailwood Village PUD which currently is number 9702, started back in 1976 and has been updated several times since then. The applicant has sold fireworks in the past using a temporary tent structure with permits on the subject property. And the applicant will be selling fireworks again this year from a temporary tent which is already erected on the property from June 27th to the July 5th. That was consistent with what we've done with the applicant over the years. In your staff report on pages 2 and 3, you can see some of the conditions from one of the most recent conditional PUD amendments for Trailwood Village. What is not listed in there is what the use is for this property. So the way we consider PUDs is if it doesn't say it, you can't do it. So what the applicant is looking to do is to amend the PUD for the uses that he's hoping for on the subject property. This was routed through the interdepartmental review. The County Highway Department commented that direct access onto Covington Street will not be permitted, and that the applicant should have an engineered study performed to determine the need for stormwater detention since the impervious area is increasing and the drainage will affect South Dakota Highway 44. This concern was also echoed by the County Environmental Planning Supervisor, and where they also pointed out Section 507 of the Pennington County zoning ordinance. This is located within the Rapid City's 1 mile septic jurisdiction. The county addressing coordinator stated that the existing physical address for the property, which is 4481 Avery Drive, should be used for the proposed building when constructed and posted in accordance with County Ordinance 20. South Dakota Department of Transportation commented that even though the landowner is not requesting access off of South Dakota 44, that no additional accesses off of SD 44 will be allowed. The current condition of the plan unit development 0519 does not specifically allow the uses as proposed by the applicant, hence the minor amendment before you. The applicant, as we have said before, has been selling fireworks on the subject property at least since 2014 from what we can figure out. The applicant is also allowing people currently to park their personal used vehicles for sale on the subject property and is just looking to add that as a use so that he can continue that. He's also requesting to make the following changes to the existing plan unit development, which is mainly to allow for the sale of fireworks on Lot C during both the retail and wholesale seasons as outlined by the state. And that would also have to be if there's any local restrictions as well. Per the applicant, the retail seasons are June 27th to July 5th and December 28th to January 1st. And the wholesale season will be May 1st to July 5th and July 6th to August 31st. The other amendment would be to allow the future construction of a building of up to 10,000 square feet on Lot C for the storage and sales of fireworks. Again, that would require a building permit, so there are other factors that are involved with a building of that size. Also, the third amendment would be to allow for the sale of used vehicles. Staff is recommending approval of minor plan unit development amendment 1802 with 16 conditions with a change to proposed condition number 14, which is on page 6 of 6. The proposed change is at the very end, so I'll read the whole thing. That no fireworks be stored on the subject property outside of the retail or wholesale selling season as outlined by the South Dakota codified law, unless stored in a secure permanent building approved by the local fire official. So right now with the temporary tent, you can't store anything on site. But because the primary use of the subject property is going to be for fireworks sales, it's going to be a little bit different than any other structures that we've had. So it's going to be able to store them on site. It's going to need a little more oversight from the fire officials. I did read that off to the applicant. He had no concerns with that. And therefore, staff again would recommend approval of minor plan unit development 1802 with 16 conditions with the changes mentioned.
All right. Any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Lori.
So when you say storage, he can keep the fireworks in the tent during the selling seasons. He doesn't have to move them every day, does he?
No, it does not.
It just means he can't keep them in the tent outside of the seasons, right?
Correct. And the tent comes down when
he's not selling. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, I have a question on condition 4, when it talks about the parking of used vehicles. Why is there a restriction on the number not to exceed 10?
I read that this morning. questioned that too. Cassie read this and she's not able to be here today. I don't know if there was any discussion between Cassie and the applicant. I don't have any objection to 10, just, based on where it is and the size of the property. I wouldn't want to, a used car lot would be something a little different.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
you know,
Laura.
I've driven out on 44. It seems like, is it because, does he park them along the frontage of 44?
I think that's a
And-
good question for the applicant.
Okay, and maybe that's,
When I drove by there, it was at night and I saw the 10 up there, but that was about it.
All right, what, would you like the applicant, sir? That way we can clarify.
Hi, Tom Scully, applicant.
yeah, the 10 vehicles, was that your request?
No, I just got we're setting up for fireworks season, so we're at the stand until 2, 3 in the morning. We got 6 locations, and so I just got that in the mail here the other day. I read it on there. I wasn't sure what it referred to, but I don't really have a problem with it. The only reason I have that parking there is every day I drive by there, someone's parking their vehicle on that lot. And so I finally was tired of having to call people. I put up a little sign that said, call me if you want to park here. And they'd call, and then basically I charge them $50. They can park it there till it sells, or for 2 months, basically, is what I've allowed it to do. And it was just to solve the problem of one person parks there and all of a sudden 20 people are parking there. And so I just,
And is
trying to
that
be
reasonable
proactive.
to, I mean, is that typical, 10 is the typical number of vehicles maybe that?
I don't remember having that many out there at
Okay.
any given time. I guess, we've probably had 5 or 6, maybe 7, but that's about it. Now I do have a trailer, like a little work trailer that I've stored out there, and that's about it. So,
Thank you.
yep, you're welcome. Thank you.
Any further questions for the applicant? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further questions for PJ? All right, seeing none, staff recommends approval of the minor PUD development amendment 1802 with the following 16 conditions, with 14 having the added language in there.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 21.
Item 21 is a happy and sad moment at the same time. Happy for the service that they provided, but sad to see them go. So 2 of our planning commissioners are sitting with you today. This is their last meeting until they run again after a year wait. So as you know, we have do you know which is which? Oh, okay, I'll take them out. So as you know, we always give a little parting gift for everybody. So you can have something on your wall or on your desk at home. And Lori and Bill, you guys have been at least 6 years. I know Lori might have been longer because you served
8, I
somebody.
think.
Was that?
I think mine's 8.
Yeah, because you served the end of
I
someone
finished
else's
up
term.
Scott's term, yeah.
Yep. And Bill, is it 6 solid years, huh? Yep. I don't see you as much anymore. You see you at church all the time, but must be missing you all the time. But what we'd like to do is, present these to you and then have a group shot maybe after the meeting.
Okay.
So if everybody doesn't run out of here. So first, it says, Pennington County Planning Commission presented to William Bill McCollum. Thank you for your dedication and service, 2012, 2018. And approach is okay.
But by all means.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Bill, for your service.
Thank you. Enjoyable time.
Enjoyable time.
And it looks like they put on your official nomination ones. And the same here for Pennington County Planning Commission, presented to Lori Litson. Thank you for your dedication and service, 2012, 2018.
Thank you, Lori, for your service as well.
Thanks.
And also for Planning Commission and staff, we have a little, always have a tiny little lunch or snacks upstairs afterwards. So again, it's kind of a sad time, but it has to happen, I guess.
All right. Any further comments?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Lloyd.
On behalf of the commission, I'd like to thank you guys for your service. You guys have done an exceptional job and take the job seriously, and we appreciate what you've done for the community. This planning commission is probably the most well-informed one that I've seen. I'm serious. I mean, I've sat down and talked with several of you, and you each bring something to this commission that's very valuable to the community, and it can never be replaced. So I just want to thank you for the time that you guys served and appreciate all the hard work that you guys have done.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Anyone else? All right, item 22.
Item 22, County Board Report. The Board of Commissioners concur with the Planning Commission's recommendations from the June 11, 2018 Planning Commission meeting, with the exception of rezone 1802 and Comprehensive Plan Amendment 1802 for Eric and Heidi Hendrickson, Spurlick Consultant as the agent. This item was approved by the Board of Commissioners.
Any questions?
Yeah,
ahead,
just
Lloyd.
remind me what that was again.
This is the creation of the 10 lots east of the airport.
Okay.
That's the one that had the little bitty lots and some big ones and.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a variety of
Yeah.
sizes, yeah.
Oh, out near Computer?
That way, yeah.
Okay. All right, item 23, items from the public. Does anyone from the public have anything they'd like to address? Come forward, ma'am.
I'm late. I'm Lisa from Under Canvas. For item number 13, I was stuck in the kitchen, so.
I can meet with you.
Great.
But you guys are good. Okay.
All right. Seeing no items from the public, item 24, items from staff.
And only the one. We don't have the additional ones.
I know, we have one today. There's no
Usually.
added?
Well, I plan on doing a brief presentation of the stuff I learned at the conference, at the National Flood Conference, because there's some good information that came out of that. But item A is Planning Commission appointments will be on July 3rd, 2018. If you don't know, their applications and their resumes are available in the Board of Commissioners packet, which is still online. It was heard before the board recently, I believe, and the applicants we had received are Jim Coleman, Sandra Rundy, and Ronald Smith Jr. A committee was gathered with myself, Commissioner Litzen, Holly Hennis from the Commission Office, and Commissioner LaCroix. And what was presented to the board were the committee's recommendations for Jim Coleman and Ronald Smith Jr. for appointment to the Planning Commission. And that, again, that will be heard at the next Board of Commissioners meeting for a final appointment.
Mr. Chair. I can give a little follow-up when it came forward. This was a new process that we started as far as doing the interviews and so forth. And so we kind of overlooked that they had to come to the commission, and then following meeting, you take the vote on. So that's why it's been delayed one more week. So it's not like it got continued on, but that's why. And part of the discussion when it comes to the commission is we'll be discussing on how they want to vote on it, whether paper, verbal, all three candidates, how, that's something we still got to work through. It's a new process that we've established. So I just wanted to let you guys know that.
All right.
Nothing further.
Nothing further? Were you going to give us a overview of what you learned then?
Oh, I will. There's a lot.
Okay. All right.
Later.
Oh, later. Okay. All right. Then we're done with that one. Items from the membership. Seeing none. Adjournment's the last item on the agenda. Is there a
So moved.
motion? Motion and
Second.
go ahead, Bill. You did it.
Last
Motion and
two.
second. There we
I was
go.
waiting for that.
All right. Motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Same sign. Motion carries.
All right.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.